minus 100 equals 0. All right, you have to set equal to 0 first. That's always our first step now in equations. Okay? Now, once I set equal to 0, I agree. Let's look for a GCF. Does 9 and 100 have a GCF? No, but what Ben's saying is can we? He just said, can we square root?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's different to squares. All right. So what's our factors going to look like when we square root?
3n plus 10, 3n minus 10.
Good. So 3n plus 10, 3n minus 10. That's different to squares.
Equals 0.
Set equal to 0. All right. So now, what do we do with each factor?
We get to
3n plus 10 equals 0, and then 3n minus 10 equals 0.
Good job. Set each part equal to 0. Very good. Okay. All right, Link, what's going to be my first step here on this one?
Subtract 10.
Good. So 3n equals negative 10. And then, Link, what would we do?
Then we would divide by 10.
Not 10.
Oh, 3, my bad.
Yep, divide by the
Then
3.
we, n equals negative 3 over 10.
10 thirds. No, keep the 10 on top. 10 over 3. Okay. All right, what do we do on the second guy here, Ashley? All right, what are we going to do on the second guy?
Add 10 to
Good. And then what are you going to do?
and then you divide it by 3.
And what's your answer going to be? Good. Okay. All right. Once you take a second, try F on your own now. Okay. It's the same thing. They're matching problems. Okay. So what we did on E, try to do on F now. All right, Tessa, what's your factors?
5x
Very good. Remember, it was already set equals 0, so we didn't have to worry about that step. Okay? All right, so now what are we going to do next, Naisha?
Yeah, so it's set to 0, so it'd be 5f minus 6 equals 0, and 5f plus 6 equals 0.
Very good. Okay? All right, so now we're going to start solving this. Elena, what's the first step we're going to do on this one right here?
and 6.
Good. So 5f equals 6, then what? Good. And so what was your answer here?
F equals 6.
Good. Very good. Okay? Now we're going to do the exact same steps here, but instead of adding 6, what are we going to do? Subtract the 6. So we have 5f equals negative 6, then divide by 5. So f equals negative 6/5. And those are your two answers. Okay? All right, let's go to the next one. Okay, so on G, what's our first thing we're going to do?
Set to 0.
Set equal to 0. Now, be careful here, okay? We're getting into the trinomials, the three-parters. When you subtract this 5x off, it has got to go in the middle. It's got to be in what we call standard form, which is something you did a couple chapters ago, okay? So you've got to write it in order. X squared, the x, which is minus 5x in this case, and then the no x, minus 14 equals 0. Okay, that is very important. If you do not have it in order, there's no way to get it right. Okay, you'll get it wrong. Okay, so make sure that when you set it equal to 0, that you get an x squared x, no x, in that order, standard form. Okay, so now, how do we factor this? What are we going to do?
Oh, it's like, make the list and try to make multiply. It's 14 equals 5.
Yeah, so factors of 14 that get us to 5, right? Okay, there's a 1 out front, so we know we don't have to mess with it because 1 times 1 is going to change our values. Okay, so factors of 14 that get us 5. Does anybody have one they've already come up with without making the list? Yeah, 7 2. Again, if you already kind of know it, go straight to it, okay? And try that first, and then if it doesn't work, then you can make a list, okay? So now, if I'm looking at 7 and 2, which one's going to have to be negative to get a negative 5? Okay, so the 7 would be negative, right? That will give us a negative 5. So now, what's your factors then going to look like here?
X plus 2.
X plus 2,
And then X minus 7.
X minus 7. And of course, it doesn't matter which one you got first and second, just as long as you have both parts. A plus 2 and a minus 7. Okay? Alright, so now let's go ahead and solve, right? X plus 2 equals 0. X minus 7 equals 0. So x equals negative 2. And x equals positive 7 when you add it. Okay. Alright, does anybody have a question on that? No?
No.
Alright, go ahead and try H then. Let's see what you can come up with on H. No, there's numbers here.
How could that like
Did you make a list?
Uh-huh.
Let's see what you got here. You don't have it in the right order. P squared, P, no P. So it's gonna be P squared plus P minus 20.
Oh, I thought the P.
Right? P squared, P, no P. Has to be in order. Okay, that's gonna be plus 20, right? Alright, so what's the first thing we're gonna have to do here, Sam?
You're gonna have to subtract 20 over. And you're just gonna get P squared plus P plus 20.
Very good. Alright, so subtract it, right? Undo it, right? So P squared, P, then the 20, okay? Make sure you got it in order. P squared, P, no P. It has to be in that order, you're not gonna get them right, okay? So now, factors of negative 20, that get us the 1. Just keep in mind that there is a 1 out front here. So what are those factors?
4 and 5.
Okay, I heard 4 and 5. Which one's gonna be negative though to get a positive 1?
4.
How about the 4? Right, so when I take negative 4 plus 5, that gives me a 1, positive 1. And then when I multiply negative 4 times 5, it gives me negative 20. Okay? So now, what will my factors then look like here? John?
P minus 4 and P plus 5.
Very good. Okay. So set each part equal to 0. So what's your answer on the first guy going to be?
P equals 4.
Yeah, because you're going to add the 4. What about the second guy?
P equals
Negative 5, because you're subtracting it over. Okay. Yes.
When you do the P minus 4 and the P plus 5, and if you forget to put the equal 0, is that like a point off?
No.
Or, okay.
Well, no. That's just part of the work. Okay, anybody else? Okay, so let's look at I. Alright, so it's set equal to 0, right? Yay! Is there a GCF?
No.
No. It's 3 and 17. Those are odd or prime numbers, so we know we're good there. Okay, so then what do we have to do?
Find what equals 2.4.
Yeah, so let's start our list. Alright, so this is where you need to make sure you put them all down. Some of you missed points on your test just because you didn't get all the factors down, you couldn't find what worked. Okay, so make sure you've got a complete list. Okay? So now, if I'm looking here, if I have a positive 24, right, your only options have to be a positive times a positive, or a negative times a negative? Which one's gonna be our one that's gonna work?
Negative.
Yeah, it's a negative in the middle, so it has to be a negative times a negative. So we know without doing anything so far, it's gonna be equal to 0. We also know that we're gonna have negatives in the middle. Okay, is everybody okay with all that? Alright, so same signs we're gonna be adding up to get to 17, outside, inside. So if I'm looking here, 24 and 3, just throw that one out. 12 and 6, will that get us to a 17?
No.
No, okay. 8 and 9.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might work, okay. So then let's go ahead and circle or highlight. Okay, so again, keep in mind, we're taking 1 times 8 and getting the 8, and the 3 times 3 and getting the 9. Does that make sense to everybody?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now which one, oh, we already talked about, they both have to be negative, right? Okay, so we just know here's our front numbers. Oops. Here's our front numbers, here's our back numbers. So we know we've got a 1y and a 3y up front. Okay, our back numbers are 3 and 8. So 3 and 8. Okay? Now, if you are not sure if this is right, what are you going to do before you solve?